Good morning, gentlemen. We are live for the second take of Lutzie's Auctions League Special Edition September Recap. For those of you who tuned in to the live premiere at 9 a.m. Atlantic Standard Time this morning, you knew that I was willing to lay it all on the line as I recorded a 30-minute monthly recap video from the laundry room in my basement while my kids slept on just my laptop monitor, leaving me blind to my recording software, not knowing if what I wanted to capture was truly being done on the screen. Everything went to hell in a handbasket, and I tuned in this morning with absolute excitement, coffee poured, scone at the ready to enjoy my masterpiece. And when it popped up, the slides weren't there. So here I am for a special second edition, a second take. I have tried to draw the enthusiasm that I had for this last night and give you guys the best possible second take. Now, there were a few minor changes that I was grueling over as I laid in bed trying to fall asleep last night after getting all jacked up on fantasy football. And now I've had that opportunity to make those changes, and I'm looking forward to bringing you an absolute masterpiece. This week is all about September. And for some of us, it was a triumphant month. And for others, we're really looking forward to October. And we're going to get started with our first segment sponsored by Uber Eats, Who's Delivering? First, we're going to look at the quarterbacks and the tight ends. And trust me, fellas, there was not a lot of guys who delivered in this part of the league. Starting first with our quarterback, Lamar Jackson, the QB1 on the season, has produced 100 fantasy points through the first month of the year, 25 points per game. For Auction Matthews, his leader, secured for just $25. I guess that's paying up at the quarterback position, but if you can put $25 into a quarterback that's going to consistently give you an edge at the quarterback position, you have to be happy about that. Then, looking at tight ends, we have George Kittle. The tight end landscape has been absolutely abysmal this September. Only 27 points is good for the tight end 2 on the season, but X-Wing did secure George Kittle for just $11, and he will happily take the 6 points per game while he waits for that inevitable George Kittle blow-up game where he scores 2 touchdowns and puts up 26 points to win him a week. George Kittle looking like a fantastic investment through the first 4 weeks. Now, the rookie sensation from the Georgia Bulldogs, Brock Bowers, drafted by the Raiders, seemingly into a crowded tight end room, playing alongside of Michael Mayer, the tight end from Notre Dame. But Brock has been on the clock, getting lots of targets from Gardner Minshew. 20 points through his first 4 games in the NFL, good for 5 points per game, at only a $2 cost to acquire for Ricky Barber. Merrick has to be happy with what he's seen so far early in the season from his young tight end. Now, the running back position, the premier position that we all covet in this league, starting with Derrick Henry, who was purchased by Dick Ditka for $45 to not be the RB1, but to be the RB2 on this team. However, things didn't go as planned, and Derrick Henry has emerged as the bell cow that Dick Ditka has ridden all through September. And now he is looking at 23 points per game from Derrick Henry, who I don't even think we've seen his absolute ceiling yet in terms of a game. And he looks like a feature in this Ravens offense. And when they play from ahead, we are going to see massive weeks from Derrick Henry, who put up 23 points per game through the first 4 weeks. Then a value for Mike Vick, who acquired quite a stable of running backs in the draft, spending $22 on Alvin Kamara, getting Renaissance Alvin Kamara. Fast forward or backtrack 3 or 4 years to 22 points per game standard scoring Alvin Kamara, an absolute steal in the draft for Mike Vick. And then there's Saquon Barkley, saved from New York, going to their arch nemesis, the Philadelphia Eagles, putting up 22 points per game through the first month. He has been absolutely fantastic. And it seems that he has consolidated all the running back work, but also eating into Jalen Hurts' tush push. And with A.J. Brown out of the lineup, these Eagles have had to rely on Saquon Barkley in both the running and the passing game. And Saquon Barkley seems poised to be a top running back through the rest of the season as these Eagles are going into desperation mode coming out of their bye. A $46 purchase, a little bit on the expensive end, but looking like it's paying off the price tag. Then we have Lucas TBD drafting Jonathan Taylor, who has taken the goal line work Anthony Richardson has been struggling to stay in games. Anthony Richardson has been struggling to stay in games, and we've seen Jonathan Taylor capitalize on those opportunities. 17.5 points per game for just $48. He has been the RB1 for Lucas TBD, and despite having an injury, had a great September. We'll see what's in store for him in October. Then, for the LA Grams, who else would own Kyron Williams than Graham Scott? A $39 purchase, a no-brainer for a real Rams fan to secure RB1 on one of the greatest offenses in the league, potentially greatest offenses in the league, as long as Sean McVay and Matthew Stafford are there. Kyron Williams, he's got the big men up front. Graham knew they invested in the offensive line, and despite all the injuries that they have been decimated with throughout September, Kyron still secures 65 points, good for 16 points per game. That looks to be a fantastic investment, as things could not possibly get worse for the LA Rams, which means the LA Rams might be able to capitalize on increased Kyron Williams production throughout the rest of the season. Now looking at the wide receiver position. Starting with our wide receiver one, Nico Collins. He has over 100 yards more than the next best receiver through 4 weeks. Mike Vick was able to secure Nico for just $28, and he has produced 17 points per game, despite playing in an offense who has really not reached his potential through the first month of the season, and competing for targets with both Steph Diggs and Tank Dell. Nico seems to be a fantastic investment for not just the Texans who paid up for him this offseason, extending his contract, but also Mike Vick, who secured him as a $28 value. And then there's Justin Jefferson, only $48, a perennial top contributor from the wide receiver position. He is a quarterback-proof investment, but the league did not see that way this offseason. People were scared about Sam Darnold and the potential threat of a rookie quarterback. Well, Darnold is poised for fantasy football success and is leading the league as MVP favorite through 4 weeks. And Justin Jefferson has taken him there. 15 points per game, 61 total points on the month for just $48. Justin Jefferson is a quarterback-proof investment, and AC Slater will depend on him in the second month. Then the first rookie to be mentioned on the wide receiver or running back segment. You usually don't see those guys so quickly ascend to the top of the league, but Malik is built different. $22 for X-Wing patriciousness gets him 15 points per game from Malik Neighbors, who put up an absolute dud in week 1. So those points are consolidated through the last 3 weeks of the month. Malik has been an absolute target hog in New York, and they have found themselves a superstar, and so has X-Wing. Then there's DK Metcalf. He's been around the league. He's had good seasons before. But for just $21, Auction Matthews is capitalizing on what could be the best season of DK Metcalf's career. He is playing in this revitalized Ryan Grubb offense, and he is off the all-skittle diet. Quarterback Geno Smith has said that DK Metcalf is making an effort to eat better to improve his performance on the field. And through the first 4 weeks of the season, we are seeing just that. 13 points per game from the wide receiver for Auction Matthews. And then another rookie, Marvin Harrison Jr., looking just like his dad out there on the field. Another rookie that put up an absolute stinker in week 1. People tried to say he was slow. They started calling him, they got a Maserati Marv. I don't even know what they were calling him before. They were calling him slow. They were calling him a bust. They were saying that Malik was better. Well, that is yet to be determined, as Marvin Harrison turned it on with a breakout game against my Rams, where he went for 28 points and scored most of them in the first quarter. A $39 investment, quite pricey for a rookie, but so far through the season, Marvin Harrison looks poised to dominate. Moving on to our second feature, a local sponsor from the East Side, Value Village, deals that make a difference. First, we have Jordan Mason. Now, these are ranked in terms of the value I perceive them to be. The criteria, just so you know what we're getting into here, is it had to be under $10. Lots of guys between $10 and $25 that could be pointed out as an absolute steal. But I just think those are the type of deals you find at Old Navy, not the stuff you find at Value Village. This is about truly bargain hunting. We got Jordan Mason, who has been catapulted to fantasy football relevance by the bilateral Achilles tendonitis that Christian McCaffrey has been dealing with that has sent him to Germany, and Jordan Mason has made the most of this opportunity. It's hard to not say that Jordan Mason is giving you 80, 90, 95% of what CMC is giving you on the ground, maybe not through the receiving game, but for 18 points per game, Auction Matthews is absolutely thrilled. And how much did it cost? Just $3. Then we have Jaden Reed, who has played 2 games without Jordan Love, yet still is the wide receiver 2 through the first month of the year, 15 points per game. And the LA Grams were able to acquire Jaden for just $3. How does Jaden Reed go for $3? Who knows? Chris Godwin. Ricky Barber has been touting Chris Godwin as a steal of the draft throughout the month of September, and you cannot blame him for oozing with happiness as he was able to buy the veteran receiver who has been producing 12 points per game for just $2. Another absolute steal. And then the rookie quarterback sensation, completing 80% of his passes through September. He could break Drew Brees' record, which I believe is closer to like 74%. Jaden is poised for an absolute breakout season, and he has been scoring 24 points per game. Now, he is owned by Auction Matthews, who I have already pointed out had the QB1, Lamar Jackson. Maybe a little bit of a quarterback controversy brewing for Auction Matthews, but he was able to acquire Jaden for just $9. An absolute steal. And then we have J.K. Dobbins, whose career has been revitalized by his former offensive coordinator, Greg Roman, who never stopped believing in J.K., moved to the Chargers to play with Jim Harbaugh, setting up for one of the most run-heavy offensive schemes in the NFL. They bring J.K., and they silence the haters as he puts up 13.8 points per game through the first month of the season for Mike Vick, and he was acquired for just $4. I've actually got 5 more values. There were so many incredible steals throughout this draft that I couldn't go without naming the next 5 guys. We have Brian Robinson Jr. He was shot as a rookie. He came back. He showed what he could do. They brought Austin Eckler in. Maybe people were scared of old man Eckler dividing that backfield. Well, guess what? It's Brian Robinson Jr. getting it done. 59 points through the month of September, acquired for only $9, a plug and play of running back in this ascending Washington offense. Then another rookie who was living in the shadows of Malik Neighbors, both at the NFL draft, both also at the auction draft, but again at LSU, where he was overshadowed. But Brian Thomas quietly amassed a ridiculous amount of touchdowns in college, and he didn't have to do a lot. Just run down the field and catch the ball, Brian. And he has continued to do that at the NFL level as he has expanded his route tree and shown that he's a true number 1 wide receiver and able to produce. Now, only 9.5 points per game, but for a rookie through his first 4 weeks in the NFL, that is absolutely stellar, and he is poised to extend far beyond his wide receiver 16 status, and he was acquired for just $1. Plug and play, baby. Deontay Johnson, who moved on from the Steelers, he was supposed to be the safety blanket for Breece Hall. Well, the best thing that ever happened was the day that they put the safety blanket on top of Breece Hall. Well, he sat on the bench to stay warm because Andy Dalton was coming to town to save these Panthers and Deontay Johnson. Now, Deontay Johnson has just 37 points, but he scored, I think, 32 points in week 4. So those points are extremely consolidated, and Deontay is poised to continue to dominate through the month of October as long as the Carolina Panthers continue to lean on Andy Dalton, acquired for just $2. Then we have Zach Charbonnet, who shined in the month of September as his running mate, Kenneth Walker, was injured for most of the month. Zach Charbonnet, the product of California, was the RB16, and he produced 11.8 points per game. He also was a key contributor in X-Wing's crucial win in his 0-2 matchup against the commissioner that allowed X-Wing to get his very first win. He was acquired for just $5, an absolute steal. And then the tight end one, Dallas Goddard. AC Slater, with an absolute steal, is able to get the tight end one, 8 points per game for just $1. Now, our undrafted free agents of the month, sponsored by Underdog Fantasy Football. These guys have ascended themselves into fantasy relevance despite not making any appearance in the draft. These guys have been absolutely fantastic. starting with Baker Mayfield. He has produced 24 points per game, and he is actually still a free agent. If you are listening right now, you can go to the waivers and claim Baker Mayfield without spending a single fab. Now, I do recognize that Lucas Lahead saw Baker Mayfield's week one performance. He bought him for 32 fab dollars and proceeded to drop him. And I do think he had two pedestrian weeks, weeks 2 and 3, but in week 4, he had another 30-point performance. At what point will Baker Mayfield be considered by this league good enough for someone's bench? Then there's Sam Darnold, who has been absolutely fantastic. And Dick Ditka recognizes the situation that Sam Darnold is in, the talent he had as a former first round pick and a top prospect in this league. Sometimes it's just about situation. Maybe a lot of these young quarterbacks are a victim of the coaching, the play calling, and the talent around them. And that's what it appears to be, as Sam Darnold has been rejuvenized by Kevin O'Connell's Vikings team. He has produced 24 points per game and has been an absolute steal for Dick Ditka. Then there's Juwan Jennings, acquired by none other than the LA Grams. And I am not surprised a Rams fan was quick to pounce on the opportunity with Juwan. We have long called him third and Juwan, as he has continuously caught long, medium length third down conversions against our Rams. We've seen the talent. We knew it was there all along, and opportunity meets talent, and that's how you get 13.8 points per game and the wide receiver 5 off the waivers. Then there's the breakout tight end, Isaiah Likely. We saw him flash as a rookie, and last year didn't really follow that second act up. So he goes undrafted, but he seemingly has been replacing Mark Andrews as Lamar's go-to target. Dick Ditka, with another timely pickup, has been able to score the tight end 3 off the waivers. And finally, one last tight end, only 5 points per game, Cole Kmet, plugging in for Auction Matthews, who did draft Mark Andrews, and we will talk more about that disappointment later, but seemingly finding a replacement that is viable, as Cole Kmet surpasses his competing tight end, Gerald Everett, to be the tight end 1 for a Bears team who might be throwing more than they anticipated. Then, on to our saddest segment, brought to you by Mr. West, 808s and Heartbreaks. And part of fantasy football, the game we know and love, is disappointment. Starting with our quarterbacks. And there's a lot of quarterbacks that have been disappointing, and tight ends. Patrick Mahomes, the league MVP, two-time, one back-to-back Super Bowl champions. He had the best set of weapons maybe he's had since Tyreek. They bring in Hollywood Brown. They draft Xavier Worthy in the first round. They have Rashee Rice, who broke out last year, and his boy Travis Kelce. He was set up for a 50-touchdown season, a legendary season, but it's not happening. The defense is too good. Everybody's hurt. Patrick doesn't need to throw big numbers to win games, and it is killing X-Wing patriciousness. A $25 quarterback investment has become an extreme disappointment. Then there's Jalen Hurts, a guy who has been no stranger to the top of the leaderboard. He has number one overall finishes as well as a couple second overall finishes. He has commanded a $23 price tag, which is on the high end, and he has only been producing 18.3 points per game, good for the quarterback 11. Now, I will say Jalen has been playing games without A.J. Brown. He also lost Devonta Smith in one of his games as well, and it's been tough sledding for him. He's had to rely on Saquon and Dallas Goedert, and the tush-push hasn't necessarily been a requirement for them to win games. I'm not ruling Jalen Hurts out, but September was very disappointing for Ricky Barber. And then the rookie sensation, Sam Laporta, who absolutely took the fantasy world by storm, touted to be the new Travis Kelce, the number one premier tight end off the board that you had to have. LA Grams had him last year and saw what he could contribute, and they couldn't resist a $32 price tag on Sam Laporta, who is now the tight end 18 and producing only 3.3 points per game. Now, the tough thing for Laporta is the emergence of Jamison Wilson, who has seemingly carved out a very meaningful wide receiver 2 role in that Detroit offense. Also, Gibbs has ascended and commanded more focus from this offense, and you know they need to keep St. Brown happy and get him the ball too. It could be more tough sledding for Laporta as he competes with a wide range of offensive contributors in his own offense. And then there's Travis Kelce, Mahomes' boy, only tight end 14, 3.5 points per game on a $26 price tag for Niners Gold Rush. Very, very disappointing start for Travis Kelce. They just haven't needed him. Are they saving him for the playoffs? Perhaps they are. But maybe, just maybe, with all of these injuries around their team, Rashee Rice being the latest of which, Travis will be set up for a better October. But so far, Travis Kelce owners have been absolutely fuming. And then there's Mark Andrews, a $16 buy, so maybe not as pricey as some of these other guys, but the tight end 40? The tight end 40. There's only 12 teams in the league. We're talking about a tight end 3, tight end 4 situation. Mark Andrews has been absolutely useless through the first month of the year, and there's no reason for optimism. This Ravens team loves to run the ball. They're playing in 3 tight end sets, and Isaiah Likely seems to be faster, stronger, and better at separating at this point in time. Now looking at running backs, the place where you need consistency, reliability, and performance. Starting with maybe the biggest letdown of the season, a $70 investment into Christian McCaffrey by Dick Ditka. Dick Ditka was quick to pull out his wallet at the auction and get rid of his money, securing just a few studs. And who could blame him? There was a little bit of stuff in the offseason, but nothing that you wouldn't assume was just regular superstars don't need to practice in July type stuff. Even on Friday of the first week, Christian McCaffrey told media that he was expecting a full workload on Monday Night Football. But where was he on Monday night as Dick Ditka was left without a running back or even someone on his bench to replace Christian McCaffrey? He took a L that week and has not seen Christian McCaffrey as he flees to Germany to get some type of foreign PCP treatment to ingest some stem cells into his Achilles tendons and hopefully revitalize his career. Now, there is hope that he could be back around week 9 or 10, but that might be too little, too late for the 1-3 Dick Ditka team. Then there's Bijan Robinson. Now, he has been producing 9.5 points per game, which is close to that 10-point per game benchmark that everyone seems to hold dear. But when you spend $70 on a running back, you did not pay for the RB22. You are looking for a perennial difference maker. You want to have over 15 points per game from those types of investments. And AC Slater has been nothing but disappointed by Bijan Robinson through these first 4 weeks. Then Brees Hall, another guy, a $69 investment. These top 3 backs commanding huge portions of their owner's auction budget. A $69 investment for Brees, who has seemingly not looked any better than the rookie sensation from Wisconsin, Braylon Edwards. So here we have 10-point game, 10 points per game. Yeah. That is the silent killer for Niners Gold Rush, who also saw Travis Kelce on this list. Then my own guy, Devon Achane. I was fist pumping this guy in after week 1 in that game in Arizona. He was getting the ball. He was running routes. I think he had like a 20% target share. He was the featured back. Raheem Mostert was out of the picture. He's hurt. He's old. He sucks. Devon Achane was set up to absolutely smash for just $43, but it's been nothing but bad news for these Dolphins as Tua Tagovailoa has been injured with another concussion. Once again, we've seen Tua fall to his back, throw up the gang signs, and now everyone is begging, Tua, please stop. But I would like you to come back. Please play. Travis Etienne, another disappointment, a $36 investment, so a little bit on the high side. Mike Vick, we've seen throughout the presentation, has a stable of running backs and has maybe been able to shield himself from this by some values that he's acquired. But RB27 for $36, 8.3 points per game, and it seems that Tank Bigsby has emerged through the first month of the year, really rebounding from a terrible rookie year, and it seems that Travis could be in a timeshare on an offense that is not producing. Looking ahead at our wide receivers, it was difficult to even find just 5. There's 15 guys that have been disappointing here. If you want to get the full list, comment bust in the comments, and I'll be sure to send it to you, but I'm going to focus on just the 5 most disappointing wide receiver investments. Starting with Tyreek Hill, 32 points, 8 points per game for your $70 wide receiver, the wide receiver 25 on the year for the LA Grams. Fortunately, the Grams have been lucky to have Jaden Reed and Jawan Jennings, but Tyreek Hill, when you are done with Miami-Dade, the LA Grams would like to have a word with you. Then there's Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson putting up just 5.5 points a game on a $60 investment for Ricky Barber. Just like the Grams, though, Ricky cashes in on two values. Deontay Johnson and Chris Godwin just saving things for Ricky Barber as he is able to go 3-1 despite spending $60 on a Garrett Wilson player that has failed to produce 10 points in a single game. And now it seems that the Jets are looking, or maybe I better said, Devontae Adams is looking to come to town. And it doesn't even really matter because Aaron Rodgers is happy to throw the ball to his boy, Allen Lazard. Could Garrett Wilson, the rookie of the year from 2023, be the odd man out in New York? And then there's Drake London producing 7.5 points per game on a $30 investment. He is the wide receiver 28, and he has been disappointing. There's this Atlanta offense as a whole has been disappointing. When Kirk Cousins came to town from Minnesota, despite the Achilles injury, people expected this to be a high-flying offense that was going to get into wild shootouts. Their defense is not that good, and the makings of a Kirk Cousins team is a team that can get down and play from behind and catch up and put points up on the board. We saw it in Minnesota regularly, and we have not seen it. This is not a 30 points per game offense, and Drake London and Bijan Robinson are suffering as a result. And then there's Devontae Adams, a $34 investment by the LA Grams. He is the wide receiver 30. He did not play last week. He is not poised to play this week. He has hamstring tightness, but we'll see. Maybe he's just looking for a better situation. Maybe October will be better. But after spending $34, you have a guy in your lineup that you could probably replace on the waivers on a week-over-week basis. And then another letdown for Dick Ditka, a $42 purchase for the wide receiver 55, A.J. Brown, who has 50 points. Now, what I will say about this, a sliver of hope for Dick Ditka, is A.J. Brown only played in 2 games. So he absolutely smashed in those 2 games. But sometimes the best ability is availability. And A.J. Brown has not been on the field, and that has made things extremely difficult for Dick Ditka through the first month of this season. Now, to finish up with our standings, we've seen how the players have done, who's been showing up, who's been hiding, who's been over-delivering, but how has that impacted what we actually care about? Wins and losses. So starting with the DraftKings division, brought to you by the Walking Bets with Taylor Mathis, we're going to take a look through our standings. And the story so far this month has been an ascending Auction Matthews team who has peeled off 3 wins after losing their first matchup to get to the top of the division. Now they have produced 404 points, good for the second best in the league, best in the division, and they have needed them as everybody has shown up to play against Auction Matthews. 349 points is no joke. And then there's Ricky Barber, who sits at 3-1. A fantastic start to the season for Ricky, the reigning league champ. He has 3 wins, and he did lose his last matchup. That's okay. You can't win them all. So here he is in second place in his division, and he has definitely benefited from great fantasy defense. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, but some people truly believe in manifesting these wins, and Ricky has done just that, as he's able to keep his opponents to just 284 points against over the last 4 weeks. Then there's X-Wing Patriciousness, who was 0-2, and they have completely turned their season around, getting up into third place after 2 consecutive wins. They have posted 347 points, which is very respectable, second most in their division, and they've needed every single one of those points as they have just a +3 point differential on the season. Then there's Peabody's Pros. Peabody, new to the league, 2-0 to start the year out. Was he taking the league by storm? Was he going to be able to sustain the success? When would he see his first loss? Well, now he's seen 2 in a row, and that has bumped him out of playoff positioning after being on top of the league. And then there's the story of September. More sadness for Roger Bedell. 4 consecutive losses. What's the point of listening to the podcast May through August? What's the point of printing the sheets? What's the point of the weekly recap? What's the point of the waivers? Sometimes you must ask yourself, what is the point of fantasy football at all? When was the last time it brought you any genuine happiness? maybe it's just all dread and despair. But enough about that. The LA Grams are not without. They do sit in a playoff position in the fourth spot, but not to make excuses, I've been getting beat up on pretty hard. Everyone shows up when it's time to play Lutzi. Number one in points against in my division, 381. So thank you all very kindly for showing up and making this a fantastic experience. Then we have the LA Grams, and maybe their biggest win of the season was restoring their branding from last year as they made a quick change in the offseason to no sheets, which was far beneath the standard that this league operates. The LA Grams return with their fantastic franchise, and they add a really nice profile picture. Shout out to Graham for getting that branding just right. Lucas TBD and AC Slater, take notes. And he sits 2-2 on the season. Now, this State Farm division brought to you by Malik Neighbors. Like a good neighbor, Malik is there. We have Mike Vick, who has continued to dominate this league. He has 4 consecutive wins. He is 4-0. He is undefeated. He has 416 points. He is averaging over 100 points per game, dominating this league. He holds 3 of the top 5 best weekly performances in league history. Mike Vick has been absolutely dominant. Despite playing through multiple injuries, his stable of running backs and depth at the running back position has allowed him to dominate. Then there's Niners Gold Rush, who sits second in his division. They have just one loss to Mike Vick. In fact, only the undefeated team has beat him. He is 3-1. You can't not point out the 260 points for that is on the low end. Is it true that he's going to be able to continuously win these games with these low production? But hey, maybe things turn around for him as Travis Kelce condenses target share, as he won't have to compete with Rashee Rice, and it'll be just Xavier Worthy competing for targets. And maybe that can propel Niners Gold Rush, who has gotten good production from Joe Burrow, a $3 investment, almost made it on the budget list. And then there's Shawnee Cash. He's sitting at 500. I dare say that Shawnee started 0-2 and worked his way out of the toilet bowl with 2 consecutive wins to put himself in third place, a pretty solid start. But the story of this division is really the competitiveness at the bottom. We have Lucas TBD, Dick Dicka, and AC Slater all sitting at 1-3, fighting for the 4th playoff spot through the first 4 weeks of the month. First thing I'll point out here is Lucas is on 3 consecutive losses. That's not good. That is not good. He has been an absolute punching bag for this league. 415 points against. He has not seen a score lower than 100 on a weekly basis. How are you supposed to win like that? And then Dick Dicka and AC Slater squaring off in week 4. Dick Dicka, despite not having AJ Brown, despite not having CMC, finds a way to piece together a win. And we saw him on the undrafted free agent section where he was able to plug in free agent acquisitions to propel his team forward, like Isaiah Likely and Sam Darnold. And that's the difference. And AC Slater made his first waiver pickup of the season just last night around midnight. So maybe he's awoken the beast. There's going to be an intense competition through the rest of the year between these 3 franchises. And that is it for September. We have lots to look forward to in October. We've got the Thanksgiving days. We got London games starting up here this weekend. And we are poised to have another awesome month of fantasy football. For those of you who watch the video, if you like the damn video, make sure to like the damn video. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share to @thecommish on youtube.com. And if you want to see the full list of wide receiver bust, comment bust in the comment. Thanks so much for tuning in.